Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Gary and we need to talk about Gareth Southgate. This past week, Southgate has done a couple of interviews regarding his future in position as England manager. As we know, it was famously publicised actually before this week, so I don't understand really why it's news. But Gareth Southgate did obviously debate whether he was deciding to stay or leave, and I think he was swaying towards leaving the England job shortly after the World Cup. Now, in one of these interviews that I believe he gave with the BBC, he declared that he was following the result against Hungary. He said he didn't want there to be a disparity, really, between what the fans wanted and what the FA wanted and what was best for the country. So he was thinking he was going to step aside. He decided against that, and I think that's the right decision. I'm glad Southgate is staying on as England manager. But he did do another interview this week as well, I believe with ITV, and it's not been as widely broadcasted and publicised as the BBC one was, and I think there's some interesting things there that I want to give my opinion on. So speaking with ITV, this is an article from The Telegraph though, Gareth Southgate said the following. So the headline here says, Gareth Southgate, I fear England players never truly believed they could beat France. That's a bit worrying, but let's have a look really into the detail in terms of what he did actually say. So he's put the performance against France has shown the players if they didn't believe it before, which I still wonder whether they truly believe that before the game. But coming off the field, they know that that is a game they could win and should have won. Gareth Southgate come under fire for his tactics and in-game changes at the World Cup, especially not starting more often with Marcus Rashford. I understand that, but hindsight's a beautiful thing. I know Rashford's in the form of his life at the moment, but he's hit back at his critics, he says. I think people are looking at his form post-tournament as much as anything. I agree with that. Had Marcus played and the result being like that, they'd have been saying Phil Foden should have played or Jack Grealish, so I've got peace with what we did and how we went about it. I also know that's how the narrative always works after our games, and I think they're fair comments. But the worrying thing there was at the start of that article where he suggested that the England players, he felt, didn't believe they could beat France. Now, the obvious answer to that is, that's your job, Gareth. That is your job as England manager. It's not down to you after the game to say, oh, I didn't really, the players weren't really arsed. They didn't really have it in them to beat France on the night. That is your job as a manager. Inspiring your players is a key part of management. And forget football, forget anything. Management is about inspiring people who work under you to do better at their job and to achieve things that they may not necessarily think they can achieve themselves, really. Now, those comments are also a little bit confusing because this is a relatively young England squad. I don't look at those players and believe that they would lack in confidence, so it's a bit unusual, and it's quite worrying, actually, if it's true. Why on earth would any professional sportsman go into any match, tournament, game, whatever, feeling that they could not win the match? I just feel that's a really odd thing to say. But it's certainly an odd thing to say considering now he's staying on and how divisive he knows he is within the English fan base. I just think, come on, Gareth, you're sort of chucking more fuel onto the fire here. As a manager, it's about you taking responsibility away from the players. He's sort of putting the responsibility back on the players for that loss. And he's also implying that he wasn't the right man to inspire them if there was any doubts at all prior to the match. And that's not good enough. That's as simple as that. And that really, is that the answer? Is that why we have not pushed on and won a game? Did they feel like they could beat Italy, for example? Was that the stumbling block? Did we feel like we could beat Croatia in the semi-final 4 years ago? The same way he feels, we feel like we didn't have the confidence to beat France. This sort of ties into some of the criticism that people have had against Gareth Southgate. It's the belief and the passion and the taking the risks in the key moment. I'm going to disagree with it a little bit because I think England were the better team on the night. I said that at the time. I think England were very unlucky not to win that game. I think if the game plays out more or less exactly the same, 9 times out of 10, England win that match. But it's not good comments coming from your manager. It is not down to the players to believe. I think that should be a default anyway. I think all the players should believe regardless. If they don't, then the manager has to come in. That is down to the manager to pick them up, grab them by the neck, not literally, obviously, but inspire them, show them why they can win that match. And there's no reason why they can't win that match. Southgate's now saying, well, they can see now because we outplayed them for 90 minutes. But it's too late, Gareth. It's far too late. That should, they should have thought that before the match. They should have had the confidence. There's no way the French went into that match with any doubts, and the fact that Southgate believes that shows two things. Either A, there were doubts in the players' minds, B, if they were, he did nothing about it or not enough about it, or C, he's completely wrong and the doubt is actually coming from the manager. So all three of those are worrying, because we did go on to lose the game. And I think it's a worrying comment from Gareth Southgate, and coming out at an unusual time, actually. We're still a couple of months away, really, from European qualification campaign kicking off, and it's against Italy. We need to see that confidence coming through and get a good result. Really odd comments this week, particularly is what he didn't say it to one broadcaster, but seemed to say it to the other. So yeah, really odd comments. But what do you guys think below? Do you think Southgate's right? Do you think there was a lack of confidence? Do you think that's Southgate's job to make sure that they do have the confidence? Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. This is everything England international football related, and I will see you all on my next video.